for months about Americans for Prosperity. It's a great organization. It's a grassroots organization, and they are represented mightily all over the country. Jordan Fischetti is the Immigration Policy Fellow for Americans for Prosperity, with a very important role that has to be played, and AFP is on the ground fighting the good fight. Jordan, thanks so much for joining us here on the Mike Gallagher Show, and thanks for the partnership that we enjoy with Americans for Prosperity, because this is a crisis of epic proportions. I want to start a big picture question with you from what you see in the work you do with AFP. Are Americans getting to a point where we're saying enough is enough, or do we still have a long way to go?
I think Americans have been saying enough is enough for a while now. And it's one of those things that I always try to make clear to people. It's not a right versus left issue. It's an American issue. And I've talked to a lot of people on the right. I've talked to a lot of people on the left, including a lot of family members. And I can tell you one thing they're unified in is they're worried about how many people are just crossing the border illegally, and even more worried about the people that get away, that we don't really know anything about.
Americans for Prosperity, as I understand it, and I've been studying your work and working with you guys now for a while, you have a multifaceted approach to containing illegal immigration. And a lot of Americans who are part of your organization are becoming grassroots members by going to americansforprosperity.org are learning all about this. Let me throw you a curveball, maybe. Here's a little bit
Hopefully
of a red
not.
flag. Why not? What the heck? I mean, let's be edgy today. It's Halloween. Let's do it. Headline, americansforprosperity.org. Congress needs to create a pathway to residency for dreamers. Now, that's a hot button issue, as you know, Jordan, and a lot of Americans have sort of a knee-jerk opposition to that. Walk us through AFP's approach to this.
Our approach to that is that with any legalization, you also need to have more border security. So if you got people that are already living in the U.S., so DACA, for instance, these are people that came in as children, right? So they're the most sympathetic population. They came in really through no fault of their own. A lot of them now are about 35 to 40 years old. They've been here for decades. America is really the only country that they know. And they're already contributing a lot. We have a lot of nurses, teachers, doctors that are DACA recipients, but they're at risk of losing that status. And for them to fully participate in the American economy, both enriching themselves and ourselves in the long term, they will need to get some pathway to residency. But the important part is that it's two-sided. On one hand, you do that, but on the other hand, you need to also secure the border. And that's why AFP has been going down to the border and doing events in states to talk about what we saw at the border, what some of our solutions are, so that way we don't have a future crop of DACA recipients, right? If you pathway legalization, great, but if you don't fix what's happening at the border, we're just going to be having the same debate 15, 20 years from now.
As I've been studying the work of Americans for Prosperity, I mean, here was the takeaway that I learned from AFP, and I happen to agree with this, and I know it might be contentious with some, but I think you're right. AFP states legal immigration and border security are complementary, not competing objectives. And there's a lot of precedent, Jordan. There's a lot of history that shows that legal migration can reduce illegal migration. And now again, sometimes that's a heavy lift for people to understand, because like we said, people are so fed up, they don't know which way to turn. But it's a compelling point that I think is worth repeating.
I agree 100%. And actually, I have 3 examples spanning 70 years. If you go back to the 50s, there's a program called the Grassroots program. It was actually first enacted in the 40s, but at that point, it was a bit difficult to hire people, so it wasn't really doing that well. But starting in 1954, the government eased restrictions on it, making it pretty easy for farmers to directly hire Mexican labor. It was like our H-2A program, but at that point, with much less restriction. And what we saw was there's 550,000 apprehensions at the border in 1954. In 1956, that number dropped to 50,000. So a 500,000 drop. And at the same time, admissions into the program.
Whoop, we froze up. I think we lost Jordan Fischetti. We got you back, Jordan? I guess not. All right, we lost.
Did you lose me at some point?
There we go. Now you're back. You're back. Did you get a call waiting? Did you get another call?
No, I think just for whatever reasons, reception's not going so well. Yeah, definitely no call waiting for me. No.
No, I know. Been there, done that. But yeah, go ahead.
Big drop in apprehensions and not as big of an increase in admissions because people are willing to wait for that legal channel. If there's no legal channel, they're not going to wait.
Sure.
And then
Jordan Fischetti is with us. He's an immigration policy fellow at Americans for Prosperity. And as you know, I talk about AFP every single day. I want you to go to there's a really important grassroots organization that's doing real important work, a multifaceted approach. And I want you to go to americansforprosperity.org. Jordan, one of the messages that I've been delivering on behalf of AFP has been making people aware of the Prevent Government Shutdowns Act. And this is crucial because, let's face it, Jordan, we know that a government shutdown would be devastating for border security. Help us connect those dots a little bit.
It absolutely would be. So the Senate did a report of the last three shutdowns, 2014, 2018, 2019, and they found that during those shutdowns, maintenance and also repairs, as well as just repairs to like walls, gates, roads, bridges, stopped. So at a time where we're having record high apprehensions, we would no longer be repairing walls, repairing roads, and also Border Patrol support staff. Most of that would be furloughed, so they'd be operating with skeleton crews. And also hiring would be frozen. And this is a time where about a quarter of CBP and ICE agents have talked about possibly leaving their jobs. Border Patrol suicides are at a 13-year high. So we're basically overburdening Border Patrol, telling them that they're going to have no more help. And not only that, there's going to be a lot of security vulnerabilities that we can't fix. That's not sustainable.
Yeah, it's not doable. I'm so grateful for the work you're doing, and we want everyone to contact your House representative, co-sponsor the Prevent Government Shutdowns Act, and AFP can show you how. Go to americansforprosperity.org, americansforprosperity.org, and you'll be informed, you'll be enlightened, and you'll get the tools you need to help with this grassroots pushback. Because honestly, Jordan, none of this is sustainable. I mean, we're at a point right now where I think Americans are looking around saying, what is happening to our country? What in the world? 10 million illegals since Biden took office. You talk about unsustainability, and of course all of the tertiary issues, all of the secondary. I was just reading a story about schools, public school systems are bursting at the seams right now because they're having to absorb a bunch of children of illegals. I mean, it's one thing after another. But I got to commend Americans for Prosperity. You guys have a clear-eyed focus on this. You must be very proud to be part of that effort.
Extremely proud to be part of it, Mike.
Well, and we're proud to tell everybody about AFP, americansforprosperity.org. You keep fighting the good fight, Jordan Fischetti. Thanks for spending some time with us here on the Mike Gallagher Show. We'll visit again soon.
Thank you, Mike. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. All right.